So good afternoon. Welcome to the Technology Services webinar series. My name is Andrew Nierenhausen and I work in Technology Services at Yellowhead Regional Library. This webinar is being recorded, so if you want to watch it again or share it with your staff, you are able to do that. And a link will be sent out to you after the webinar has ended to anyone who's registered. And as we go along, feel free to ask any questions that pop up. You can put those in the chat or the Q&A. I will answer those questions as we get to the end of the webinar because I'll be sharing my screen and doing that. So I won't be able to ask questions as we go, but any and all questions, throw them in the chat and I will make sure to answer those. So today we are going to be exploring the YRL Intranet. So I've heard a lot of questions lately about what an intranet is, how to find it, how to use it. So I wanted to give a brief overview of what our intranet is so that you can jump right into using it. So an intranet is essentially a website, except it's not a public website. You can think of it like a website that only staff from the YRL member libraries can visit. And in fact, you actually need an invitation to visit. But don't worry, we have pre-registered the majority of the users in our region. If you're using one of our email addresses, there's a good chance that you're already registered. And if you visit the intranet and you don't have access, you can request access. And we will get a notification right away. If this is during working hours, probably it'll take less than a minute for you to have approved access. So we'll go through kind of what that looks like. Most of you probably have access already, but if you don't, you can request access and we can get that done right away. So you can think of the intranet as kind of a big repository of information. It's a place where you can find resources and support, training, stats on your library. You could also think of it kind of like an FAQ database, frequently asked questions. And we're constantly updating these pages and we're trying to make sure that this is a kind of a one-stop shop for your information needs. So now that you have some idea of what an intranet is, let's take a tour around the site. Okay, so this is our intranet here. I think the quickest way to get to the intranet, quickest way to get to the intranet is actually going to be through the YRL site, yrl.ab.ca. In our quick links, we have a link here to the YRL Intranet that's going to bring you to this page, which has a slightly longer URL. And once you get here, you might want to bookmark this just so it's easier to access. But I just wanted to point that out just so you know you can always find it here on the Yellowhead website. So we're going to take a tour through what is on the intranet. Mine is going to look slightly different to yours just because I have admin privileges, and I think all that's really going to change is this little bar here. You won't be able to add new pages to the intranet. So we'll start by scrolling down here. And the first thing to highlight at the top of this page, we have a few of these highlighted resources. So this is the new and notable services. And this is all new, timely, or time-sensitive resources. And right now, the big resource that we have highlighted here is Ukraine Resources and Information. And this is for your library to help any new Ukrainians in your communities. This is a really comprehensive set of resources for a variety of issues. You can see that there's a lot of information here. I'm just going to jump into one of these to show you. There's all sorts of information here on all sorts of different topics. And this, while this is set up for new Ukrainians, a lot of this information is really great for new Canadians in general. And you can see there's just a ton of stuff here. And so this is just an example of one of these highlighted resources. And then there's different ways to to access e-resources and other online tools that will be useful for new Ukrainians and new Canadians in your communities. So also up here in the new and notable services, we have Librarian's Guide to Homelessness course. So this is a limited time offering. You may have heard about, oh, it looks like I'm not logged in here. You may have heard about this. We've been advertising it in a lot of different places and talking about it every chance we get. And we've been getting really rave reviews from library staff about these courses. So the Librarian's Guide to Homelessness course is not actually just one thing. It is a series of courses, and not only dealing with homelessness, but also dealing with difficult patrons and difficult situations. It is on a time limit. I actually didn't find out when it expired, but I believe we only have it for another few months. So if it's something that you're interested in and you haven't had a chance to look at, I would jump on it. There's a chance that it gets renewed in the future, but I don't know that for sure. So it's up here and highlighted for a reason. So make sure you have a look at that. There's also a toolkit here. This is for creating advocacy presentations. I think we're going to come back to this a little bit later on, but there are tools here that you can use to, you can kind of take these templates and rebrand them for your library. There's also some how-to and information. So if you're dealing with advocacy, this information's here. And another one of our highlighted resources here are the makerspace kits. So here we're just highlighting a few of the new kits that have been added. So I think this actually has all of the kits here, but there's a few new kits that have been added in the last year or two. We got breakout boxes, electronics teardown kit, fibercraft, the Kiva planks are new, and physical literacy, I believe. I think that's on here. Yeah. So there's a bunch of new kits. And so this is updated regularly as we add new stuff. You can see the inventories and some images. And then up at the top here, we have the kit booking availability and the ability to request a kit. You'll also find those elsewhere on the intranet, and we can talk about that. But this is just to make it accessible for you. It's highlighted up on the front page. And then we also have website training, which we'll talk about a little bit more as we go along. So the rest of the intranet is broken down into a few distinct categories. So we're going to take a brief look into each of the categories to see what kinds of information each of them contains. So we're going to start here with learning. So you can see here all of the different learning and training opportunities that are provided by YRL, as well as there's a number of archived resources in here. So we'll take a look at self-paced training. And this includes courses that we have created at YRL. So you'll have access to all of those Niche Academy courses that we've created, as well as ones that we've licensed. And you can see some of those through the Librarian's Guide to Homelessness again. The YRL YouTube channel, which is regularly updated with sessions just like this one. So all of our webinars and sessions, those go up on the YouTube channel as soon as we're done. And then there's also LinkedIn Learning and some of these other library-specific courses from OCLC and Library 2.0. And so this is just the self-paced learning stuff. Under the live workshops and webinars, you can register for our newsletter, YRL Weekly. You can stay on top of upcoming events, or you can find the YRL events calendar, which we keep up to date with all of the happenings and events at YRL. So these are just a few of the training resources that we offer here. So make sure to come and browse around and see what else catches your attention. We also have some information on the annual conference here, which is coming up in just a few weeks. We have our professional development collection, which is it's actually a set of physical materials that you can borrow from YRL for your own professional development. ranging from board governance, customer service, leadership, strategic planning. Down here, we have the core competencies and onboarding. And both of these are really useful areas for hiring or evaluating staff. If you are a library manager, these are really valuable tools. There's also information for onboarding library managers. So if you're a new library manager, you may have seen some of the stuff that's in here. Or if you just want a refresher on the resources that YRL offers, what kind of services we provide, sometimes it's not a bad idea to have a look through some of this stuff and see what kind of things YRL can do for you. And we've got some really useful documentation and other resources here. So we'll head back to the home page here, and you can do that just by clicking on the YRL Intranet icon at the top. And we'll take a look at library collections. So this section includes a lot of practical information for managing your collection, including cataloging information, collection development resources. There's information on requesting supplies, purchasing materials, resource sharing, and our e-resources. These are a lot of the core YRL services that you're probably already familiar with. Maybe you just need to download a form. Maybe you need your process only flags or something. A lot of this kind of information is maintained in this section here. So I'm not going to jump too deeply into this. I think a lot of this is familiar. The Wi-Fi Hubs section is new and talks about the Wi-Fi Hub project we just did. And actually our next webinar, I'll give it a quick plug now, is going to be talking about Wi-Fi Hubs, policy for them, item records, best practices, difficult patrons, all that fun stuff for Wi-Fi Hubs. So there's more information about that as well. The next section we have here is library programming. So library programming has a bunch of resources to help you develop and promote programming at your library. Along the quick bar at the top here, you can see that there's a bunch of training sessions on different kinds of programming, including virtual, makerspaces, programming for older adults. And you'll also find the programming kits section here. So I kind of mentioned this earlier when we were looking at the makerspace kits, but this is for all kits, not just the makerspace kits. And from here, you can see the programming kit availability. So I'm actually just going to open this up. And here you can see all of our kits that are currently booked, kind of what the status of them is, and where they are. So we actually want to take a look at oh, I've lost it. You can set this up to look by calendar. Kit book and calendar. I'm just blind. And you can see here which kits are being booked and scheduled. So if you're looking to see the availability on a kit, if something that you want is already in use, you can see when it's back, so you can go ahead and book that. And when you find a kit that you are looking for and is available, you are able to request that from this page as well. So we have this request form here. And you can come through here and pick whatever kit you're looking for and request it this way. You can also put in the dates that you're looking for and any notes, and then one of our kits team members will contact you about that. And there's also a video here that covers these instructions and shows you a little bit how to use the the kit availability calendar. And then just further down here, we have inventories and lists of all of the different kits that we have, so you can get a little bit more information about each one of these. So there's a lot of information going on in the programming kits section. We'll head back to the main page. And we'll look at Polaris and Track. So Polaris and Track is broken down into the two sections, Polaris and Track. And the first part of this is Polaris. And this has a lot of information and documentation on sort of the technical aspects of how Polaris works. In my previous video on LEAP, I highlighted the Polaris Help database, which is a really fantastic resource. And you can get to that resource by clicking this link here. So that's just another way to get to that Polaris Help section. There's also a number of different tutorials and tasks to help troubleshoot questions that you might have about Polaris. There's a lot of good documentation on kind of basic stuff like patron registration, the check-in, check-out process, how to do an inventory, how notifications work. So some good in-depth documentation on that stuff. There's also this information on auto renewal and self-registration if those are things that your library is interested in. And I should point out that these are great resources. This information's here. The help access is here, but always feel free to contact us at YRL if you have questions. This is just sort of extra reading if you want the specifics and you just want to go looking for yourself. And then below that, we have the track section. And along with some of these other provincial systems, it's not just track here. So there's a nice flow chart here that illustrates the way that borrowing works for a patron from our region, whether they are borrowing a book from track or visiting an academic library or borrowing from out of province. This is kind of just a flow chart that shows how a patron would get materials from different libraries. And then we have a few sections for these different organizations, specifically track. And this track section has all of the major documents that you will need to understand the track agreements and expectations, including your role as a track member library. So there's a bunch of information here about track. And I think that this is going to be expanding in the next little while, and there's going to be a lot more comprehensive information about track that is going to be available. So that's Polaris and Track. We'll take a look at reports and statistics. So in the reports and statistics section, you will find links to our regular updated statistics, including the monthly usage statistics for things like circulation, e-resources, patron creation and renewal. You're probably familiar with these, but if not, I'll open this up. And you can filter this by library, and you can select your library, and then you can just see your monthly statistics here. And that's updated regularly. So in reports and statistics, we also have a section for annual report. So there's important information or important resources here for creating your annual report. And we update this every year as new information comes from PLSB. If there's new requirements for your annual report, we'll try and make sure that everything that you need is in this section. And if you're going through the YRL website, you'll find the same information, and I think it'll actually just redirect you to this annual report page here. As well as we have Simply reports and Polaris reports here. So these are kind of guides to tell you about the different reports that each of these can run. The pre-made and custom reports that we have in Polaris that are really useful. And then in Simply reports, kind of how it works and some recipes, I would say, for how to make effective reports in Simply Reports. We'll take a look at websites. So our website section includes access to our website training course. So this is a video series that walks you through all of the information that you'll need to manage, edit, and update your library website. I should also mention that we offer one-on-one training, either in person or through screen sharing. If you want to understand your website, I can come out to your library and we can do longer training sessions, but we know that there's a lot of self-starters out there who just want to watch a quick tutorial, give it a go. Or if you want a refresher or a reminder, this is always here. There's videos on all the topics that you'll probably be dealing with on your website. And so, yeah, you can find that under website training. You can also find it under the training section. A bunch of these are sort of cross-indexed. We also have this page dedicated to Wufoo forms. So there's videos here, and there's also links to documentation from the Wufoo site themselves. And these will show you kind of the basics of how to create great forms and surveys. These forms can be embedded on your websites or shared through social media or by email campaign. And we put some of the really useful tutorials here, but the actual Wufoo website has some really great documentation, and they have a lot more. I would describe it, they have a course on how to get the most out of your Wufoo forms. So if that's something you're interested in, you can visit their website, or again, reach out to us and we can work on that with you. And then we also have library help here. So if your library uses this chat service, library help, this is a great place to find additional support documentation. If you watched my webinar on library help, then you'll know that there are also supports and documentations available directly through the library help browser portal, but this will get you there as well. Moving further down the list here, we have this advocacy section, which I touched on a little bit earlier. So this section contains the templates and toolkits to help you present the importance of your library to major stakeholders in your community. And so there are courses and resources to help you, walk you through how to do this. And there's documents that you can use and repurpose here. Then we have the incident reporting section. So incident reporting is a tool that we offer from YRL. A few years ago through the PLC, there were calls for some kind of system where libraries could report problem patrons or highlight incidents that were occurring at their libraries. Excuse me. This information could be shared confidentially between participating libraries in the region to track and monitor potential instigators, repeating patterns. The tool can also be used by your library just to keep track of your own incidents as a reporting tool and not as a shared system. So this is an opt-in service. If your library is interested in using incident reporting tool, to keep track of these kind of incidents, let us know at AskYRL at yrl.ab.ca, and we can talk a little bit about what the system's for, and we can get you set up to start using it. But I just wanted to highlight that it's here and sort of what it is. We'll take a look at working groups. And so this page highlights a number of different regional working groups that regularly meet to discuss a variety of topics. And if any of these groups interest you, they're all open to your participation. This includes the peer support network, which is a way for library staff members to communicate with each other through a discussion forum and peer support coffee chats. We also have the Indigenous Services Working Group, which allows you to come together with other libraries to talk about any initiatives or programs that you're offering, or to get advice on starting these programs, so you can build relationships with other library staff who are interested in better serving Indigenous populations in the region. And then we also have the YRL monthly coffee chats, which are open to anyone at all. Drop in for a coffee break with us once a month, chat about the weather, your library, new book. This is just a casual hangout that will, help you to get to know other libraries in the area, chat with YRL staff. Yeah, so we do this one monthly. It's very casual. So those are some of our working groups. And the next section here we have is the Public Libraries Council, or PLC. So this is a group that meets 3 times a year, I believe, to discuss issues that are relevant to you, the libraries. YRL staff are present and are available to answer questions, but the PLC is a place for library managers and staff to address concerns and just communicate with each other. And so this page holds the documentation that comes out of those meetings, including the meeting packages and any documents that are generated by the discussion. We're getting close to the end here, and we have FOIP and CASL legislation. So this page on FOIP and CASL, we have this section because these questions come up fairly regularly. This page has some really important information about what kind of information you can and should collect, and some of the laws around keeping and using that information. I'd say this is recommended reading for all library managers, and it's a great reference if you ever have questions about privacy and information. And our last actual section here is What's Up YRL. And sadly, this section doesn't get enough love. This is a place where you can make posts. It's kind of like a Facebook feed. You can post here, say hi to YRL staff or other staff, ask us questions, or just say hi. We do check this page and we get notifications if anyone posts here, but as of yet, we haven't actually had any visitors. If you're looking through the internet, feel free to drop by and say hello, but I don't know if this will be here for forever. And then we'll just take a quick look at the footer here. And so this last section has a link to the Ask YRL email, a link to the YRL website. But what I really wanted to highlight here was this full contact list. So this includes a bunch of YRL contact information, but also directories for YRL and Alberta public libraries, school libraries, member library board chairs. There's also access to any of our newsletters and listservs, and there's a bunch of other provincial listservs and email lists as well. So this is just a really great kind of repository of different email lists and contacts. So if you're trying to get a hold of someone, this is a really good place to look. And I think that this pretty much covers the topics on the internet. There's plenty more to find here, and we have some content updates in the works right now. So there's going to be even more stuff on here in the near future. Are there any questions that have come up? Any questions about the intranet? Questions about getting access? If you're not sure about finding some content on here, if you got any questions, let me know. Looks like there's nothing in the chat right now, so I'll give you a minute. Okay, it looks like nothing's popping up here. If you do have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to me. You can also reach us at askyRL at yrl.ab.ca or helpdesk at yrl.ab.ca if you have any questions or you need access to the intranet. So thank you so much for joining us today. Our next webinar will be on October 20th, when we will be discussing all things to do with Wi-Fi hubs. And so that is including item records, policy, documentation, and lending practices. So if you want to join us for that, information will be sent out in the newsletter and in YRL Pub. And again, this webinar is going to be sent out as a recording after the webinar is completed. So thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.